This video here will be the first of several for my 210 Denali build. I'm going to start by marking out my areas. These are my side pieces, my left and right. Got to get these marked out first before I actually start assembly. Got everything pre-cut, but this will make it run smoother for me down the way. Marked out my areas, got some double face tape, pressed some scrap pieces into place, and put my flush trim router bit in and traced it. That way I've clamped them together so I can cut them both at the same time to ensure both sides are even. Now I can start assembly work. As you already know, 100% glue coverage on all joining edges, clamps, 1 5/8 wood screws. And this is a massive box. I'm telling you, it's 48 wide by 48 deep if I'm not mistaken. All right, everything's set up right. Run an extra bead of glue there to seal everything off, and I'll start working on the first side piece here. You can see that notch where it cut into place. I had to get creative on that ratchet strap because my clamps weren't long enough. That's why I used that. You gotta use what you can. And this was a lot of flipping back and forth and back and forth. I got scared a couple of times, thought my table was gonna collapse. I was about ready to break up out of there. I got that side in. I'll work on the second side. Again, screw placement anywhere from 3 to 4 inches apart. The front piece on. This is actually the front piece of the box here as it's sitting. Now I'm getting some scrap pieces, so I've got to work the step area. I'm gonna try to put this together first and then put it into place. That's where I'm marking it, get my lines, see what I need to do, trim everything down to the correct size, and just start assembling these two pieces together. Just be less of a fight when I'm trying to put screws in. I don't have to climb in, flip it around. It's just everything's together, and I just got to work with the front and then both sides when I'm putting the screws. Got my roundover bit to match the bearing, that flush trim bearing. You can see right there, I'm trying to follow that contour for the bottom side so I can mimic the bottom right there. I'm showing you, put the sanded it by hand and use the router just to get that contour I was looking for, and this will be important later on when I start adding bracing. It's not critical, it's not a must, but I figure why not push myself, try it, and see what I can do. Getting creative again with bracing, pushing against the back wall up into the front so I can put those front screws across there to ensure a tight fit. Now it's starting to look like something. I'll get ready to start on my bracing. What you can see is too long, so I have to do some cutting, do some marking, so I know how much I got to take out, and I'll do that same step out piece. Area will be gone on this section as well. Just using some scrap pieces so I know exactly what my length and my depth is, because my edges are rounded to the true measurement there. Again, same process, double face tape, scrap pieces, run that router bit. I actually took a jigsaw, roughed it out, then run the flush trim router bit. Just ensuring that my edges are straight and true. I'm gonna go ahead and knock out some of these middle pieces to get the bracing. Like I said, I'm gonna do like what they call a picture frame. That's what this style, I call it that, it may be called something else, but that's what this is. Use my step up drill bit so I can access the areas with my jigsaw, rough it out, and then I'll screw, or I think I brad nailed into place some scrap pieces that I already trimmed down, I think the 1.5 inch thickness, and just laid it out where it needed to go, put it on my router table, flush trim bit, and routed it out. Took the scrap pieces off, and that's what you're left with. Now I'll take that piece, slap it onto another one, draw everything out, and just repeat that process. Once I get it roughed out, I'll use the first template piece, screw it into place because it'll be permanent, it won't be coming back off, because I'm making this bracing just running down the middle, 1.5 inches thick. Put a small round over on all inside edges just to help with airflow. I'm dry fitting everything, make sure everything's going to fit the way I want it, get my lines marked around the box so I know how to screw from the outside when I get to flipping this box around, to make sure that my screws do not miss. That's all that is right there. I can go ahead and slide it into place. Just to give you an idea how tall that box is, it's me standing on a chair. I'm getting creative, getting that push to the inside, put a scrap piece on top of the brace, and then that's why the bow is in there, pulling that on both sides, and that gives me that pull that I need. As I'm putting the screws in, it's not pushing away, it's holding it solid. There we go. the foundation bracing there. Now I'm going to add some more bracing and more window frame bracing around the box inside. These I'm not going to do 1.5 inches, it's just going to be 3/4 inch on these. Once I make the first template, then I just relay that to all the other pieces. Makes it a lot easier instead of using all the scrap pieces, because all these are going to be the same sizes. And just repeat my steps. Shoot them together with the brad nailer, run them off the flush trim, and then prime back loose. Take out any nails, sand them down, any holes I've got in there. Put that round over on the inside. And here I didn't lift it up high enough past the drill, trash my bit, and that's what that cut is in there for. I want to show you that. Got all my outside edges marked, and just repeat the process. Put them in one at a time. Using my clamps, scrap pieces of wood to get that push and pull that I'm needing. And here you can see I'm using 2.5 inch going from that brace into the middle bracing there. Getting a solid grab. And marking them so my screws aren't hitting each other, and that's why you see a lot of pencil marks and lines on there as I'm screwing them into place. Some of it can't be helped, but it's just a guideline to follow. There, I'm getting creative with my pushing and pull I was talking about. I got all of them in, all the window frames are done. Try to stiffen this box up as much as possible. Now for the other areas that I didn't want to put more picture frames, I'm going to use some 1.25 inch wooden dowels. Just to tie everything in the outside edges of the box now. Just getting everything marked. Finding my center so they hit right on those middle pieces of the bracing. Pre-drill all my holes. Get everything marked and outlined, and I'll drill through. Again, getting creative, making extension pieces. And then transfer that depth that I have there onto that bracing. Drill a hole through there as well. And here I'm using some nails and the drill bit just to guide, make sure my lines are straight before I start screwing each one into place. And that's what I did every time. Leveling up everything because I got a screw from the bottom and I couldn't get my bit in there. So once I did that, I outlined the outside of that dowel, removed it, and then I took me a nail, knocked a hole in and drilled it all the way through. So now when I flip the box up, I know exactly where to put the screw, just to make sure I don't miss. And she's fully braced. And I think I'm going to add some outer wall bracing to that big section there on the left and the right. Cut some 45s on the edges and screw them into place from the inside out using 1.25 inch wood screws. And that way they don't stick out through, because again, 1.5 inch thick with 2 3/4 pieces. So 100% glue coverage and screws and clamps. Now I'm going to get ready to close it up. Get my dry clamped it into place. I always cut my last top piece a little bigger so I can flush trim and make sure my edges are straight, less to trim off. And then I'm transferring my lines from all my bracing onto the top piece again, so I do not mess with my screws when I get ready to start snugging everything in. Everything's glued up. We'll slap this top piece on. Clamps, everything straight, and it's in place. When you outline it, it makes it a whole lot easier. It takes the guessing out. Getting ready to mark. I think I'm transferring a mark for my sub placement, making sure I don't miss. Got clearance there. Now I'm going to add the secondary baffle. 100% glue coverage throughout. Marked it so I knew what not to glue. That's why I did the outlining on that one. You can see the screws placement. They're not everywhere. They're just where they need to be. Double checking my cutout of the sub. I had to remove my little Jasper jig cutout and had to add the big boy in there. Shout out to my man Josh for supplying that for me. Much love, bruh. Found my center point, marked it, so I can drill my hole all the way through so it don't walk off on me. Set the depth of my bit. And then did a little dry scrape so I can remove whatever screws are in the way so my bit doesn't hit it. And just took my time and dropped it and walked it and dropped it until they fell out. You can see I got that little lip. My router bit is wore out a little bit, so it doesn't cut flush every time, but I got a trick for that. Take a longer flush trim bit, down cutting style, and just walk it around it. Smooth everything out. I'll go ahead and start on my ports. I'm going to use 4 6-inch arrow ports on this one. Found my centers, just same thing you do for your sub cutouts, marked it. Double checking, you always double check your outer and your inners. This particular one had 2 different models that they offered, so I just want to double check. And you can see that here. That's the one I had. Just making sure. I got a problem, I got trust issues. So never hurts to double check yourself. Here I'm showing, I tried this one. I did 2 different cuts and I made some trim rings just to see the kind of fit I wanted. If I'd have went with the larger one, I could have slid the whole port through because the inside has a smaller flare, but I didn't want that. I wanted a tighter fit so I could have more material when I'm adding my screws later, and you can see that here. Moving it around just to show you the slop in it. And this one here, this is the actual one that I used, the smaller one. You can see it's not a lot of slop in it. More material, more meat when I'm adding these screws later is what I was going for. You can see that was a 7/5/8. And you can see it moves a lot more, and I did not want that. So that's why I made the trim rings, just to get the fit that I was looking for. It's not for everybody, this is mine. I almost made it. Now I can go ahead and drill them out. Same process, use a nail, pop the hole in it, drill it through. Get your Jasper jig, run them, put a small round over on them, just for a smoother, for a more even flow is what they recommend, for a better seat, I guess you could say. But that's it. As far as I can go with this one, like I said, it's going to be in stages, but this the box itself is complete. It's built. Just to recap and show you what it looks like on the inside, all that bracing. Almost looks like a cathedral up in this bad boy. Nice and solid, shouldn't have any flex, nice and rigid. You brace it how you want to. This is the technique that I wanted to use on mine. I appreciate you watching.